Imagine making $120,000 a year and still panicking when the grocery bill hits $200. In 2025, nearly 24% of American households are living paycheck to paycheck, and it is not who you think it is. We aren't just talking about entry-level workers or those struggling to find employment. We are talking about households spending 95% of their income just to keep the lights on, the SUV in the driveway, and the kids in daycare. You haven't just fallen behind, you have been trapped by something called lifestyle inflation and a fragmented economy that makes wealth accumulation feel like a fairy tale. You wake up on Friday. It's payday. The notification hits your phone at 7 a.m. Direct deposit received. It's a good number. It's the kind of number your parents would have thrown a party for 20 years ago. You feel a momentary hit of dopamine, a split second of relief. But then, the great disappearing act begins. By lunch, the mortgage or rent auto draft hits. That's 30 to 40% gone instantly. Then the car payment for that vehicle you needed for the commute you hate. Then the student loans, which have somehow become a permanent fixture of your existence, like a pet you didn't ask for. Then the internet, the insurance, the daycare. By the time you clock out at 5 p.m., that big check is 80% gone. You were left staring at your banking app, wondering how you're going to fund your actual life, food, gas, the occasional moment of joy, on the scraps left over. Why does it feel like you were working for your bills rather than yourself? You did everything right. You got the degree. You grinded for the promotion. You sat through the endless Zoom meetings. You were promised a margin, that gap between what you earn and what you need to survive. But that margin never materialized. It just vanished into the ether. This isn't bad luck. And it's not just you being bad with money. This is a systemic trap. Let's look at the hard data, because the numbers coming out of 2025 are terrifyingly clear. According to the latest report from the Bank of America Institute, paycheck to paycheck doesn't mean you have $0. They define it specifically as households where necessity spending consumes more than 95% of income. Think about that definition. If you earn $10,000 a month and you spend $9,500 on housing, gas, groceries, utilities, and childcare, you are statistically living on the edge of a cliff. You have a 5% buffer. If your transmission blows up, or you need a root canal, or your landlord raises the rent by $200, you are underwater. The irony here is crushing. We have data on people like Austin, a master's degree holder applying for 1,000 jobs and struggling to get in the door. That is a tragedy of the labor market. But there is a second tragedy. The high earner who has the job, has the six-figure salary, but is mathematically identical to the person earning minimum wage in terms of financial security. In fact, the data shows that among those earning over $100,000 a year, only 27% managed to actually grow their savings in 2025. The other 73%? They're treading water. They're running on a golden treadmill. If the rich, and I use that term loosely here, are barely keeping their heads above water, what does that mean for the stability of the entire system? To understand why this is happening, we have to zoom out to the macro view. We are living in the era of the debt-driven economy. According to Federal Reserve data, household debt has hit an all-time high of nearly $18.6 trillion. The household debt to GDP ratio is hovering around 69%. That sounds complicated, but simply put, it means for every dollar of value the U.S. economy creates, households owe nearly 70 cents of it to someone else. The Federal Reserve will tell you this debt is manageable because it represents about 11.3% of disposable income. But that is an average. Averages lie. That number includes the billionaire with zero debt and you with a mortgage, 2 car notes, and a credit card balance that won't go down. The culprit here is fixed cost creep. 10 years ago, lifestyle creep meant buying too many lattes or upgrading your wardrobe. Today, lifestyle creep is structural. It's the fact that the cost of the American Dream starter pack, A home, a reliable car, healthcare, and education has outpaced wage growth for 5 years straight. But there is a new villain in 2025, one that nobody talks about: financial fragmentation. The Federal Reserve's Diary of Consumer Payment Choice revealed a staggering statistic. The average consumer made 48 separate payments per month in 2024. 48! Think about how your parents spent money. They wrote a check for the mortgage, a check for the electric bill, and they bought groceries with cash, maybe 5 or 6 transactions a month. You are bleeding out from 50 different holes. Netflix, Spotify, iCloud, Amazon Prime, the gym, the meal prep kit, the finance app subscription, the buy now, pay later installment for the Peloton. Your money isn't leaving in one big, painful bucket that forces you to pay attention. It is leaving in a silent digital drip. You are being drained by 1,000 cuts, and because everything is automated, you don't even feel the blade. This brings us to the psychology of the trap. We need to talk about the anatomy of lifestyle inflation. In productivity, it says work expands to fill the time available. In finance, it is arguably more brutal. Expenses expand to fill the income available. It works like this. You get a raise. You think, finally I can save. But you don't. Instead, you move to a safer neighborhood. That's a necessity, right? But the new neighborhood has an HOA fee, and your old car looks trashy in the new driveway, so you upgrade the car. But the new car requires premium gas and higher insurance. And now that you have a nice house, you need the high-speed fiber internet and the smart home security system. Suddenly, your base cost of existence jumps from $4,000 a month to $8,000 a month. You haven't bought luxury yachts, you've just upgraded your cage. The Bank of America report explicitly calls this out. They note that for high-income households, the primary driver of distress isn't inflation, it's the decision to layer fixed costs on top of each other until there is no room to breathe. And the system is designed to help you do it. Digitalization has decoupled the pain of spending from the act of spending. When you tap your phone or when a subscription auto-renews, your brain does not register a loss. It doesn't hurt. Let me ask you a rhetorical question, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. If your salary doubled tomorrow, if you went from $100K to $200K, would you actually save that extra money? Or would you move? Would you buy the boat? Would you put the kids in private school? History suggests you would upgrade your necessities until you were back to living paycheck to paycheck, just with nicer furniture. So, how do you break the cycle? How do you escape the 95% trap? You have to execute a decoupling strategy. This isn't about skipping coffee. This is about structural engineering for your life. Step 1 is the 95% audit. You need to look at your necessities. Most people lie to themselves here. They list their car payment as a necessity. Transportation is a necessity. A $700 lease on a luxury SUV is a luxury. High-speed internet is a necessity. The premium cable package bundled with it is entertainment. If your fixed costs, the things you have to pay to avoid foreclosure, starvation, or jail, are over 50% of your take-home pay, you are in the danger zone. If they're over 80%, you are in crisis, regardless of how nice your suit is. You need to aggressively downsize a fixed cost. Sell the car. Downgrade the apartment. It hurts the ego, but it saves the bank account. Step 2. Automate the margin. The data from 2025 showed a fascinating trend. Those who successfully grew their savings were 4 times more likely to have seen an earnings increase and captured it before it hit their checking account. The moment you get a raise, you have to divert that money into a savings or investment account that you cannot easily touch. If the money hits your checking account, it will get eaten by the 48 monthly payments. It will vanish. You have to treat savings as a tax, something that is taken from you before you have the chance to spend it. Step 3. Kill the fragmentation. You are making too many payments. The mental load of tracking 48 transactions a month is impossible. Consolidate. Cancel the fragmented subscriptions and move back to analog for one category. The Fed found that people still keep cash handy. Why?
Because physical money is a commitment device. If you withdraw $400 for groceries and dining out at the start of the month, and you physically hand over that cash, your brain registers the dwindling supply. You stop buying the $12 artisanal cheese when you see you only have 2 20s left in the envelope. Digital money has no edges. Cash has a hard stop. They want you to feel rich by consuming rather than actually being wealthy by accumulating. Stop treating leftover money as savings. There is no such thing as leftover money. In 2025, if you don't fight for your margin, the economy will consume it. The people who win this game aren't the ones with the highest salaries. They are the ones who realized that freedom isn't making $1 million a year. It's needing less than you make, consistently for a decade. Don't let the 95% trap turn your career into a golden pair of handcuffs. If you are tired of the financial matrix and want to understand the actual mechanics of building wealth rather than just earning income, make sure you are subscribed. We don't just talk about the news, we break down the systems that control your money and show you how to beat them. Thanks for watching. Stop spending, start building.